Let's open our Bibles to Hebrews chapter 11, verses 24 through 26. It says, "By faith Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He considered the reproach of Christ greater wealth than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking forward to the reward." Let us stop and for a minute examine our lives and our motivation. Why do you and I follow Christ? I think if you and I are honest, a big part of the reason we follow Christ is because we want a reward. We obey God because we hope for Him to bless us in our life here on earth. This is what we were taught as children. Maybe some of you had a situation like me where your parents tell you that you need to tithe part of your birthday money or your allowance. And so they bring you to church and you have a couple of dollars in your pocket. When the offering plate goes by, you reluctantly put the money in. And then on the way home, or maybe the next day, your parents give you twice as much money. And they say, see, because you trusted God, because you did this tithe, you got blessed, you got more money back. And we think, hey, that's not a bad deal. I trust God with a little bit of money, I get twice as much back. And we start applying it to other areas of our life. Maybe if I devote my time to God in ministry, God will make it so I don't have to work so hard and I'll have more free time. And what do Christian movies teach? So many times in a Christian film, there's a person whose life is all falling apart, and then they come to God and suddenly they get healed or they get a better job, etc. Now, it's not bad to teach kids that if they trust God, they will get blessed here on earth, that they will get, obedience is rewarded. But the problem happens if we learn to expect only material blessings, if we set our eyes only on that which is here on earth. And when we expect material blessings from following God and we don't see them. If we expect a reward here on earth and instead get hardships and persecutions, will we still follow Christ? When we look at Moses, we see that he voluntarily gave up the pleasures, the privileges, and treasures of being Egyptian royalty. When we look at these verses that we read, the first sentence it says, "By faith Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter." When he was grown up. That's really interesting because if we look at society today, most people fall away from Christ, fall away from the church in college. In their early 20s, when they grow up, people fall away from Christ. Moses was the opposite. When he grew up, he gave away all of the treasures he gave up of Egypt, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God. And I think it's because a lot of times that kind of maybe even subconscious desire for earthly wealth is what drives people to go to church, to obey God. And when they get to college, when they get into young adulthood, they realize, there's easier ways to get pleasure. There's easier ways to get money than following Christ. And so that's what they pursue. But Moses, for some reason, I think when Moses, as a young child, was being raised by his mother, he was instilled from a very young age that everything that you see here, that's not your treasure. Your real treasure is with God. Your real treasure is with eternity, is in eternity. And so when Moses grew up, he already had this mindset that I need to be looking for things in heaven. I need to be looking for something beyond what I see here on earth. And that's what these verses say. He considered the reproach of Christ greater wealth than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking forward to the reward. What reward? What was it that caused him to be able to leave all of the pleasure and treasures of his time, some of the greatest? He just left it. How? Why? Because of faith. Let's remember what faith is. If we look at the same chapter, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, it says, "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see." Faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Moses was looking forward to that reward. And he could see it, even though it was not a reward that could be seen with physical eyes. The world we live in today, it always tries to grab for our attention, right? It's when we look at Facebook, they want our eyeballs. There's this idea of pay per click, etc., etc. But the true faith, the faith that we see in Moses, the faith of a Christian, has eyes that can see something this world can never show us, eyes that can see eternal life. Moses was looking forward to a reward, and he could see it, even though it's not a reward that can be seen with physical eyes. What was he looking forward to? What reward? Earthly success? A reward of wealth? No, he already had all that, and he left it for a heavenly reward. What reward do you and I as Christians expect? Jesus Christ came to earth, and he died so that we could have eternal life. This is our reward, eternal life with God. It's a reward that doesn't lose value due to inflation. It's a reward that never wears out. Jesus Christ never promised wealth or fame or success. That is not the reward that should motivate us to follow Christ. Rather, our motivation to follow Christ should be eternal life with God, which we hope for and see by faith.